Learn to weave and sew yarn ends with the American Crochet Association. When a project is complete, you can weave or sew down the ends to hide and secure them. There are lots of techniques to weave or sew down ends, so in this tutorial we'll show you the basics of each. To weave in your ends, a plastic needle with a blunt tip is best. Fasten off your work and be sure to leave a long tail end to thread onto your needle. To weave down your yarn ends, you'll work between the strands of yarn and fabric. To secure the end, move in small sections and opposite directions over just a few inches of fabric. Trim the excess of your yarn end when you're done. If you have a short yarn end, you can weave your needle into your fabric first, then thread your yarn. You can also use a small crochet hook to weave the yarn between your fabric. The goal is just to hide your yarn ends and secure them. Practice weaving with different yarns, fabrics, and projects. If you have two yarn ends together, after a color change or a yarn addition, you can knot the ends before you weave them. Fasten off your yarn, and be sure to leave a long tail to knot and to thread onto your needle. Carefully knot the two yarn ends together to remove all slack, but not so tight that the fabric will pucker. Thread your needle with one yarn end and work that strand of yarn between the strands of yarn and fabric of the same color. Trim the excess of your yarn end when you're done, and repeat for the next yarn end. The goal is to hide your yarn ends and secure them. Practice knotting and weaving with different yarns, fabrics, and projects. To sew in your ends, a metal needle with a pointed tip is best. Fasten off your yarn and be sure to leave a long tail to thread onto your needle. If your project has a clear front and back side, like this tube, turn your fabric to sew into the back. To sew down yarn ends, you'll work into the strands of yarn and fabric. If your yarn ends are close enough together, you can sew one toward the other until they are touching. Once they are together, you can knot them and fasten them off. Once securely knotted, trim the excess of your yarn when you're done. The goal is to hide your yarn ends and secure them, so practice sewing with different yarns, fabrics, and projects. Thank you for learning with the American Crochet Association.